and on YouTube. I'm Susan Noble and I'm Mayor Pro Tem. I am sitting in for Mayor Douglas this evening, who is at a conference out of state. Live Spanish translation services. So I welcome all of you on his behalf and on the City Council's behalf and staff. So glad to see you all here. Live Spanish translation services are being provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 *. The city clerk is a host of the Zoom meeting. Speakers will be able to unmute themselves when recognized, and I will now call the study session officially to order. So tonight's meeting will be a discussion with members of our development community. And as I said, we're so happy you could all be here this evening. I am turning this over, however, to our Director of Community Development, Mike Sutherland, and he will introduce tonight's discussion and lay out the ground rules for the evening. Do any council members have questions? Does that come after you speak? I think so.
Probably so, yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Thank you, members of the development community, and thank you for council members. As just a few quick procedural items, all developers and builders are welcome to sit at the table. If there's not room in back is fine. We can participate from there as well. If you are not a developer or builder, please sit in the chair rows behind me. Welcome to listen, but not to participate in the discussion tonight. On behalf of community development, I would like to say thank you to the development community and the builders. We sincerely appreciate your investment in Commerce City, and wanted to say that to you directly. We've been trying to get that message across to the entire development community. We're happy you're here. Format for tonight's meeting, we've got 2 hours, and we intend to stay on time or early if possible. There are 3 topic areas for tonight's discussion: fees, the development process, and other subjects not covered. This study session is intended to be a listening session. Council will listen to concerns and may ask clarifying questions, but policy discussions will occur later, and no decisions will be made tonight. We have approximately 30 minutes for each topic area. Individual developers have up to 3 minutes to make their statement. Please be mindful of others that are here, and be concise. Raise your hand and I will call on you to speak. If we do not get to your concern, please send me or Heather Vidlock an email. We provided our cards at the front door. Heather's seated right here, and we will include your concerns in the meeting summary. We are taking notes. Heather will do a quick verbal summary at the end. We will send a detailed summary to all the participants within a couple of weeks. So if you can if we didn't get to your comments, please send me those comments within 7 days, and we'll include those within the meeting notes. This is intended as an overview of topics. If you have specific concerns with individual developments, please send those to me directly. We'd like to, any of those very specific issues, happy to address them, but this is probably not the right forum for that. We will need your help with microphones. So there's a little sliding button on the back side of the microphone. You slide it right before you want to speak, slide the button up. As soon as you are done, slide the button down and the microphone will turn off. This will prevent us from picking up all the side conversations and that type of thing. We do have a portable microphone, so if anybody would like to speak that's in the chair rows, we'll get a microphone to you. And I appreciate your help with that. And of course, this is a collaborative effort. Please be courteous and businesslike. So with that, we'll start off with the first topic area, which is fees. And just to kind of give you an introduction, since the 2025 Developers Roundtable, Council reduced fees for pre-application meetings and revoked the water acquisition impact fee. On May 18th, Council will consider a 40% reduction in development review fees, impact fees, and a restructuring of right-of-way fees. That's for construction in the right-of-way. So I think we're making progress in some of these areas, but I'll open it up to the development community, and please give us any concerns you have with fees or either development review fees or impact fees or any type of fees that Commerce City charges, and we're happy to hear your comments. So who wants to be first? Well, this is good when the Nuggets are playing, right? This is. Yes, please.
Thank you. Just to follow up on I wanted to highlight something that as a city council, we actually put together as our working agreements. And as we kick this off tonight, I think something that's applicable to tonight's conversation is one of our working agreements about assuming positive intent. And so I think that's important as we share, and I hope is that we have this candid discussion about what's needed to help our city grow. The first question is a sensitive subject, which we all know, but as a council, we created these agreements to say we assume positive intent. Anything that's being shared is that we assume that we're working together to figure out how we move forward for the city. And so I want to bring that to you. And there's some other working agreements on here that we as a council are going to live by. But I wanted to highlight that one specifically so that we have the most productive conversation we can have together. Because it's a waste of time if it's not productive, frankly. And we want to be able to take actions and be able to be a part of this discussion with you all today. So thank you for that. So I want to pass it out and make sure we have that on.
Yeah, that's a great start. Yes. Oh, yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Mark Campbell, president of Southwestern Property Corp. I've been up here since year 2000. Over 3,000 single-family lot developer. We built the retail in the southeast to southwest corners of 104th and Chambers. We love working in Commerce City. It's been a little challenge in the last few years. We see that getting better, and we really appreciate it. Appreciate you having this round table, you might say, square table. Anyway, we built a number of things, but the Range Apartments was built, we sold it, we built it in 22, 180 units, Class A. The fees were $3.4 million. We've been trying, it took us 6 years to get approvals on 228 units, just off of 104th and Potomac. Fees 6.8, so maybe like a 30-some% increase. Or more, 35, something like that, 40, a huge increase. The deal's not economic, and that's not just because of the fees, but rents have declined, concessions are super high in this market right now. So anything you could do to bring down fees, we would appreciate it, not for every class. And you might, the last thought is, we have some things coming to this city on retail this summer. So if we're gonna reduce fees, we might come in prior to June, but maybe before they're activated. Maybe there'll be some consideration that people get their permit right before the new ordinance is enacted to go backwards to the folks that brought it in maybe sometime this year. Thank you.
Thank you. That covers quite a few different areas, so I appreciate that. Any other comments about fees? Yes.
Hello. Daniel Frank, property owner at 96th and Tower on northeast and northwest corners. Had a chance to watch the study session the other night. On staff's proposal for the fee reduction. I thought it was great. It was really, in our eyes, a step in the right direction. I think we'd like to see more, but we understand that, fees do need to be increased as time goes along. And so, I think what was being proposed was great. My question would be timing on the roadway impact fees. I know that was being looked at separately, but the fee study did, on one of the pages, recommend, a potential decrease there as well. So I just wanted to kind of figure out what's going on with that particular fee.
Thanks, Mr. Frank. Yes, so we're looking at restructuring the right-of-way permit fees. Road impact, excuse me. So we have hired a consultant who's doing a study on the road impact fees. And we're looking at kind of a new nexus study for those to make sure there's no distinctions, I guess, between the north and south in impact fees, and to kind of get a new perspective on that. So that consultant is working right now on it, and in a couple months should have some results, and we'll definitely share those with the development community in advance, and make sure that you're aware of what the recommendations are. So we're looking forward to it. I think it's a step in the right direction. Sorry, I had my mind on right-of-way permit fees, but those road impact fees are a big piece of the puzzle. We realize that, and we're trying to get as good information as we can get on that subject. I appreciate your question about that.
And just one quick follow-up. If the council decides to move forward with a fee reduction, is it going to be staged where it's everything that was looked at this study session, and then later the roadway impact fees will be done, or is it going to be kind of done all in one package if council decides to move forward?
So the timing as it is, council's sort of the driver of all of these changes. So we're going to go to council on May 18th with pretty much everything except for the roadway impact fee. But then that'll be coming up later this summer.
Testing. All right, thanks. Mark Armstrong, KB Home. One of the fees that I wanted to bring up this evening, I think you just were about to touch on, is right-of-way fees. KB Home is actively developing two communities, Turnberry Filing 8 and Legato Filing 2. They've been phased, and so we've been building homes as we go, and we're continuing to develop. But specifically the right-of-way fees, when we go to get a final inspection on a home to get a CO, if there's any damage to any of the right-of-way in front of that home, it's being called out, and then it necessitates a separate permit, which requires a fee. And in most jurisdictions that we build in, those fees are waived because the jurisdiction views that community as an active development. Now, we do have posted security on both our developments. We have to go back for final acceptance. And like I said, most jurisdictions are waiving those fees because they view it as an active development. For whatever reason here, we have to pull these permits, which is an additional cost that nobody had planned for. And on top of that, we're going through final acceptance on a couple of phases. And again, we're trying to get final acceptance. We find some damages, which is customary for any new development. We have fiscal security posted. We view it as an active development, but then we have to go through and apply for additional permits, and the fees are, in some cases, half the scope of the repairs.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. That's a good comment. We are working directly with the Public Works Director on these fees, so we'll definitely share that feedback and appreciate that. Any other comments on fees? Otherwise, we can move on to the next subject area, which is process. Okay, so just to kind of tee up the process discussion, this year council adopted the new land development code, which we're very excited about. We're working on the legislative rezoning of the city to make that code effective, but we are hoping that that provides more I guess we're hoping that it provides more stability in the process and more predictability in the process with this new land development code. So council also approved the preliminary plat process just last year, which I should provide more predictability in the platting process. And we're excited about that. And then staff is currently implementing the new light speed review process as of March 31st in order to work a little bit more closely through the development review process with our applicants and make sure that we're all on the same page and trying to get through the review process within that 3 review cycle, which has been a little bit of a challenge, I'll be honest, to this point, but we're really going to double our efforts in that area. So with that, there's been some progress, but I know there are definitely concerns about processing and would open the floor to those concerns at this time.
Hello. Yeah, so I think it's great that the city's taking a lot of effort to create predictability in the process, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's something we've been asking for years, and something that we really want to see. We're just having trouble with that a little bit, just because on a couple of our projects we've received some pretty catastrophic comments really late in the process. And so, we just want to, know that stuff early on so that we can either, pull the plug or find out, a good game plan to try and mitigate, any issues that staff or residents might have. And so, just getting the comments early on, is really important. And then also, new comments later on in the process that weren't brought up before, that can have dramatic impacts on budgets. If there is additional roadways or, utilities or landscape features or things like that, weren't commented on that get brought up later on, really impact budgets. So just trying to, understand our fate early on.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. And that is something that Heather and I are working diligently with our partner agencies and our staff to help reduce those late comments. I would rather certainly develop a complete list of comments on the first review and then work down from there. Is the expectation. So I know we have occasionally fallen short on that, and it's something we're actively working on with our planners and our engineers and all of the review specialists that we have. So do appreciate that comment, and it's something we're trying to get a better measure on. And yeah, I think you deserve to have predictability in that process and deserve to kind of know the complete set. We may not always agree on every comment, but you deserve to have all the comments right up front. We're definitely working on that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was going to say, even if the answer is no, right? I mean, sometimes that it just is what it is, but a no at the beginning of the process is far different than a no, a year and a half, 2 years in the process after thousands of hours have been spent and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the highlights, I think, of the preliminary plat process. Occasionally, we would start off with a final plat that would eventually get to a no very late in the process, which happens. But, like you said, not every answer, we're always trying to work toward a solution to any problem, obviously. But that can be, after you've spent all the time and all the money, that really puts a sting in things if we get all the way to the end of the line. So hopefully that type of process, the preliminary plat, will get you in front of council early, and they can make a determination before you've really spent a lot of money. And we think that will help out quite a bit. So thank you.
Part of what Daniel's mentioning too, and I'm curious about this because I think this is something that that you triggered my mind about something. Understanding there's a process, right, that we have to follow to make sure that they're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. But if something doesn't make sense, is it possible that we can potentially, like, if it's advantageous to the city, that they can maybe there's some wiggle room? Does that make sense? Wiggle room to go to be able to do something else that might be well, it'd be a reduction in cost for both the city and also the developer. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. I think for any idea out there, there is a way to achieve it, a way to ask if that is achievable. So if you need a variance, if you need to do a special zoning district, there's a way to do it. And we need to, as the community development department, we need to be open to the solutions and provide the guidance that can get an applicant from an idea that may not fit a zoning district to a track for a decision that can get to city council for a final decision on.
Yeah, I understand, like our planning department. I mean, you guys are busting your butts all together and you want to make sure everything's kind of met black and white essentially. But I mean, if there's ways that, if that we can come to an amenable solution, I mean, that would be amazing to make sure it's something that would be advantageous for the city, most importantly, right? Especially for the residents that would be potentially moving in altogether. I would love to see that, basically a little bit more collaboration if that's possible to do. Not just no, we can't do this because of this code, right? Or whatever the case may be. But there's ways that we got to make sense.
That's a point well taken. And through this light speed process, we're going to have more collaborative meetings with our applicants to explore those options. So I do appreciate that sentiment.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you again. Tyler Carlson, Evergreen Development. I just want to second what was said previously about the predictability of the process, and especially the downstream comments. It's an issue we've had at Commerce City with late round comments, and I think it's especially critical when you guys are trying to attract retail tenants. Retail tenant commitments come pretty early, and they go through a real estate committee process. And once the real estate committee approves the budget and leases are signed, you're locked in. And so it's really critical that, all the major costs and processes are outlined really early in the process, pre-app and first couple months of the project. Otherwise, you may very well lose that retailer. And I know business attraction, sales tax are critical to Commerce City, as it is with all cities in the state. But it's really important that we get it all out up front and we treat those first round comments as a checklist, not a future honeydew list that can get added on as the day progresses. Because it's material for our ability to deliver, the jobs and sales tax that the city wants.
Thanks, Mr. Carlson. Yeah, and we are trying to focus on speed to market. And we realize how critical that is in the building environment. So trying to get a process that you can count on that has a finite end and gets you through.
Yeah, and I would say, generally speaking, it's not to pick on that team, but it's generally coming from the engineering department is where there's fluidity. Planning tends to not move that much. I think pretty early on, those expectations are established, but it's the engineering side that was where the cost happened. And that's where the late stage comments are generally coming from, just if I'm being candid.
If I can jump in real quick, we're probably going to drive a lot of you crazy because with the changes we've made with Operation Lightspeed, you're going to be getting phone calls or emails saying, we want to sit down and meet after the first submittal. Because what happens too often is you submit, we give comments, and then y'all resubmit, and you may not have understood the comments, or you may have missed something. So we're going to sit down and go down the list of comments. We just did our first one of those. And I think it took us a long way down the road to make sure that when everybody walks out of the room after that meeting, I would hope we wouldn't have but one more submittal because you would understand what we need. And we've got water and fire on board with us to participate in those. We've also done some things that kind of amazed me when we started working on this is you would submit plans initially. We would do what we called a completeness check and took 10 days and we'd let you know if it was good to go or not. We were not sending those to fire and water. They wouldn't get them until after we had done a completeness check and they may not be complete for them. And so they said, could you simply just send them to us? We'll do the same 10-day turnaround. And that way we're not asking for something a month down the road that we should have gotten up front. So I think those two things are going to make a major difference, but we need you to come to the table, bring the design team, and we want the developers, the property owners to come so you can hear and see and solve problems if we have a question about something. To get to Daniel's comment, if we got something that just the use isn't allowed, let's talk about it there, but then talk about what we could do to make it allowed. And so I think those are a couple of changes that community development's come up with that are going to be a major assist as we move forward.
I just wanted to let everyone know that we're having technical difficulties, so the meeting has not aired publicly. Hopefully it will be taken care of soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Zane Ross with 4Star. We're a residential land developer here in Colorado. Prior to my work at 4Star, I'm the land entitlements manager. I had 20 years in the civil engineering consulting industry. So I've seen kind of both sides of the coin, both as a developer as well as a consulting civil engineer. And I will say I support the council's suggestion of keeping it to 3 reviews and potentially charging a fee for the 4th review. Why? So that one is tricky. Oftentimes we can't necessarily force our consultants to pay that fee if they don't address all the comments. That's usually not how that works. What we do to try and reduce those comments is exactly what you said, is make those phone calls. And so one thing I think is really important that helped me as a consulting engineer was picking up the phone. And now as a developer, I really wish that our consultants do pick up the phone and schedule the meeting with the city folks. But I would love to see more of that on the other side. And even just as something as simple, usually there's a project manager that signs his name in narrative, or someone listed on the plans. And I would suggest that those reviewers are reaching out directly to that person, even if it's the smallest comment. That to me as a consulting engineer, really I appreciated because it saved me time. And as a developer, that now saves me 3 months in extra comments. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mr. Ross. So this Lightspeed program has several different phases to it, but we will implement consolidated reviews. Trackit's a wonderful tool in some regards, but it can kind of depersonalize the development experience, I guess. And we will try and consolidate those reviews and have a single project manager know all the comments before they go out and make sure we're trying to resolve any conflicts and not telling you to go right and left at the same time. So these seem like simple things, but it takes a little time to implement it and get it right. So do appreciate that, and the plea for kind of a personal touch is heard and will be acted on.
Hi, Larry Jacobson, Aberdeen and West Side Property Investors. Can you speak to the legislative rezone, please, and what the timing and intention of that is and how that relates to the comp plan amendment that was recently passed? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Great question. Happy to speak about that. So the legislative rezoning process, the new land development code was adopted, but it doesn't take effect until the zoning districts that were created by the land development code are implemented. So this year we're embarking on a legislative rezoning of the entire city. Plan unit developments will be an overlay district that they'll have an underlying zone district assigned to them, but a deal is a deal, as we say, and plan unit developments will govern the property, the land uses, and everything else, while the underlying zone district will take care of anything that's not specifically mentioned in the plan unit development. There are several different efforts we are making right now to get community engagement. We've got several sessions at recreation centers. We've got open office hours. Would encourage anyone to participate in that. We are trying to implement the comprehensive plan with the rezoning of the city. So by and large, I would say that most zone districts are kind of a one-for-one transfer, an R1 to an R1. But there are some zone districts that we don't have categories for in the new land use code. I1S is one, and C3, I believe it is. We don't have a corresponding zone district. So those are areas of focus that we really need to work closely with the landowners on. And we're anticipating that the public outreach effort will conclude this summer. We've focused on the northern area to this point, but are switching focus to the southern areas of Commerce City for the remaining three months or so. And then we'll have joint study sessions with Planning Commission and City Council along the way to keep everybody informed on the progress. And then we're anticipating to have the legislative rezoning in approximately November. The public hearing process start in September through November of this year. So we're looking forward to getting the new land development code in place. However, we're going to have to live with two codes for a time. And that's something we can manage, but is a little bit of a trick in the current time frame. Did that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Mike, if I may take a moment, good to see a lot of familiar faces in the room. Jason Rogers, City Manager. Follow-up question that I have for you all is obviously you kind of heard the high-level umbrella approach that we want to take with the Land Development Code legislative rezoning. What I think we'd want to hear, what I'd like to hear, is what is the concern that you have with particularly most of your developments are PUD, have been PUD for a long period of time, establish the use, establish the regulatory framework, the rails. What is your concern that as we continue to work through this process, that you all don't want us to lose sight of with respect to what's already been vested or been given to you through your previous practices, and or how we're making sure that we're setting you all up for success going forward in the future. So I think that would be important for us as we continue to now put, the work into what that looks like into these coming months. So would love that feedback or thoughts.
One idea that comes to my mind as we went through the section with Michael down in Littleton is when you have a new code, is there an ability to opt in parts of a project within to the new zoning code and parts of it to stay in the old PD? We have that, if you remember that, Michael, Mineral in Santa Fe, where the new zoning code worked for 80% of our proposed project, but there was 20% that didn't work, just with the changes of uses and things like that. And in Littleton, we were able to opt in the majority of the master plan into the new code, but we were able to leave a piece of it in the old PD just because otherwise it would have blown up that part of our master plan. So something to think about is, because since there are so many PDs in Commerce City, is there that opportunity? If it's all or nothing, it really makes it difficult, as a property owner. But if you have the ability to self-select in parts of it to the new code, it can make a big difference in trying to get as much land as possible into the new paradigm.
Scott Carlson, part of probably the biggest issue for us is the reliability through time of the land use designations. We bought property in Commerce City thinking it was going to be a 5 to 10 year project, and that was almost 30 years ago. And so, when we look at projects and we think that they're going to happen very quickly, that's because we're all optimists at this table. But then the reality of the market comes and smacks us around a little bit, and there's recessions and slowdowns, and interest rate at 2.8% goes to 7%, market cuts in half, things happen. Projects that were profitable under one set of scenarios become losers at another. And so if we can't rely on long-term zoning stability, then that's just another battle to fight. And it's easy for the public and for sometimes others to look at the development community and says, everything you touch turns to gold. And it doesn't. There are losses and difficulties interspersed with the successes. And what we don't need is the lack of reliability, so that we can say, right now, the snapshot of the market is pretty dire, but in 3 years or 4 years from now, those market conditions will change and we'll get to be profitable again. But if at the same time, the land uses we've been relying on for decades goes away, then it's just another level of uncertainty.
Thanks, Mr. Carlson, and good to see you again. I think with that's one of the reasons that we are implementing that overlay district, so that we don't change the rules on some of these long-standing projects that have been in place for decades, as you had said. With the non-PUD designated properties, we're hoping to build in some flexibility in this new code for development, and hopefully some of the new designations will allow for greater potential for different properties. So all that said, it's something we need to keep an eye on, and I appreciate that comment.
My name is Richard Frank. Along those same lines, there's agreements that have been in place with the city for many years that certain departments in the city are not honoring, and or they don't want to honor. So, you change your codes as you go along over the years, and I guess we're expected to go along with that. But if we have like an annexation agreement that requires certain things, we'd like the city to live up to those agreements. We've got a number of agreements with the city over the last 20 years, and some of them are not, we're kind of being told we're not going to honor them. And so we want to make sure that all agreements that we enter into are honored in the long term.
Yeah, thank you for that. And please contact me about any agreements that you feel are not being honored, because that is certainly, my view is that the city is the city, and any agreements that we've had, we want to take very seriously. So I appreciate that. But please contact me. I have cards at the table, or I can get with you afterwards, and we can talk about that.
Hi, Larry Jacobson again. So picking up on Tyler and Scott's comments, if you have a zoning that's been in place for decades, that's now obsolete, the zoning was put in place during a different economic climate, during a different market. What about those situations where you have a PD that maybe doesn't fit today's world?
You can certainly amend a planned unit development, or with the legislative rezoning, you'll have an option to go to the base zoning of the code. So there are some areas where PUDs, over time don't fit anymore. So we're definitely willing to work on those with the development community and the building community to resolve those things.
I just want to, Tyler brought up a percentage, maybe some of it fits, some of it doesn't. You mentioned you were maybe 80-20 good.
Yeah.
It could be the other way around too.
Yeah, I mean, for our property in Littleton, the new code was better than the old PD. It allowed more density, allowed a broader variety of uses, more predictable. It was just easier versus the 1984 thing that was on it previously. Again, there was just one small part that, because it was really just some uses weren't allowed in the new zoning. So again, Littleton was great because we were able to basically opt in part of the property and leave part of it out. I think that's ultimately the question. I think, Jason, for you and staff is that going to be an option, or is it all or nothing? I think you'll get more interest if there's optionality with these, because some of these old PDs are huge. I mean, there's some really big zoning documents in Commerce City.
Yes, and we can discuss that on the individual property and see if there's a path forward. I would think that if there's a portion of the PUD that you wanted to revert to the underlying zoning, that's doable. And a portion that you wanted to keep under the existing PUD, that's a doable scenario.
I would suggest that maybe there's something in the LDO or in the zoning ordinance that specifically permits that, as opposed to handling it on a case-by-case basis.
Yes, we do plan, these land development codes are a iterative process in themselves. So we will plan to do a yearly update with City Council on the progress of the land development code, and we also need to adjust. So that's a good suggestion we can look at to see if we can fit that into a future code amendment. But we'll definitely be looking for, as we implement the new code, there are things that we didn't intend to happen that we'll have to bring back to City Council and say, gee, this process or this piece of the code didn't work, and we need a solution, or we'll find a solution working hand in hand and get it to council for their decision.
Follow up on that real quick. So are you saying that it's too late now to add that flexibility into the existing potential ordinance?
We can talk about that, but I think right now, I think there is flexibility there, but writing that into the code is going to take us a little time.
Yeah. Just 1 second there. Before we move on to Daniel, I think that if you didn't hear Mike earlier, one of the things the staff is doing is having office hours where they've got time blocked for the team to meet with anybody. If you've got a PUD, existing PUD, I think it would behoove you to schedule one of those, come in and meet with them and talk through the specifics of your plan. And then we can adjust, we're at the stage where we can adjust the mapping if it makes sense. And that way, coming to a public hearing is great and talking about it, but, come in, meet with them. Let's have that conversation that you may not have taken advantage of to date, but I think it would be good because I know several of you in here represent a lot of property. And I think it would help if we had those conversations for you and for the staff to go ahead and have those now. So like I say, Mike's team is ready to meet and we'll be happy to do that.
So one of the things you were talking about, I think was a good segue was, certain things in the code, will need to be changed over time. One of the things that we've run into recently is with like special use permits under the old LDC or limited use permits under the new LDC. And, those are heard by the Board of Adjustment. And, depending on the case, it's sort of a land use hearing. And I would think, and I think you may have I think we discussed that you may have ran into a similar problem in Littleton. But we'd like to, have an opportunity to get to Planning Commission and City Council, because I think the residents want, their elected officials making land use decisions. And I would hope the elected officials themselves would want to make those decisions rather than leaving them up to, a board of appointees.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's definitely on our list. Any other? Excuse me. Yes.
All right, Mark Armstrong, KB again. Is the city exploring AI for plan review?
Thanks for that question. Yes, we are. We've been working with IT to investigate AI-assisted review for building, planning, and engineering. So we're early in that process, but very interesting technology, something that definitely needs human assistance, that is definitely not designed to replace any of our reviewers, but could speed up the review process. And we are currently investigating that and seeing what ways we can embark on that course. So thank you.
So we're looking at a project with a fairly complicated PUD that has a lot of different districts in it. And I think the challenge with PUDs is oftentimes they're done prior to the real engineering and some of the actual, rubber hits the road, if you will. And so I guess my suggestion would just be that there's maybe some sort of a administrative flexibility, whether that be, a 10% or 15 or whatever that is, to allow speed of the development to continue and not potentially have to have another hearing. But that said, anything above that obviously would be considered maybe a major amendment.
We do have some of that flexibility built into the code, but as we implement the new code, we're definitely open to suggestions as we go through. So appreciate that. Councilmember Kim?
Want to go back to the AI question. I was just curious, I guess, from the rest of you guys, with other cities, have you experienced that? The use of AI technology, and if so, what challenges have you guys had with that technology? I could tell you I'm a program manager in an aerospace company out of Littleton. And it's not just me, but also others are looking at utilizing PM rather than having actual PMs, but actually using AI technology to build your reports, to build your project, basically your entire project altogether. But I'm just curious to hear, I guess, has anyone here by a raise of show of hands, other municipalities that you guys had to run with that actually uses it now?
I don't have personal experience, but City of Denver did make the news early last week that they are starting to use it and they're seeing some real savings in time.
Savings in time is great. However, I guess when it comes to the actual, I think what you said, rubber meets the road, I'd be curious, I'd be curious to see how this is going to play out altogether. Thank you.
Yeah, my understanding with Denver is that they're using AI for the intake process to speed that up. We're definitely interested in that piece of it, but also in the plan review process to see if we can speed up the reviews of, okay, is this not meeting the set, point out areas where it doesn't meet the code right off the bat, and for goodness sakes, double check it, because, there are AI concerns out there, but, yeah, I'm kind of interested to hear more, and we're investigating that. Jim?
One way we have used AI is that in this Lightspeed review process we were working on, we took a look at a lot of our past comment letters to say, what are our common comments? What gets missed more than anything else? And then do we really need to have it? If nobody's putting it on their plans, do we really need it? And so we have made some changes based on that, what we got back from having one of our policy analysts take it through an AI process. So there's a lot of literature in the planning and building fields about use of AI now, but I'm not sure anybody's found a way to use it in a comfortable way. But Mike's team he's got a bunch of people on there young enough that want to do it, that I think we're going to continue to explore it.
Food for thought, and I hope this doesn't blow the top off the room. How's the building permit process going? Any concerns there?
Mark Campbell. I hope it's a lot better. We built the apartment deal I mentioned, the range. It took us 1 year to get a building permit. Now, that was around 2020. I had to bang on the door at city council, was chained shut. They let me in. I was at a computer there, and I was able to contact, I think, Jason, the city manager, and we got one in 2 days. We were running out of our financing. We're about to apply for one on some retail, so hopefully it's much better. I think it is. My sense of things is everything is getting better right now, so I appreciate that. You're making a genuine effort, which I appreciate. So I'll add one more thing, kind of piggyback on Mr. Carlson. We have a saying, time kills all deals. Time is not our friend. Not that it really matters to you, but we all have risk capital at the very front end. We're developers. We put the money up front. We got to get 20% on that money. And I'm in the deal at 120th and Tower, 25 years. Now, it's not your fault. It really isn't. It could have been done better. But the deal on Potomac took 6 years to get to the point where we were ready, and the deal doesn't pencil in 6 years. So had it been 3 years or 2 years, we would been up and built and paid fees to the city. Hopefully that's what's getting better. We got to move quicker. Thank you.
Yeah, and that does make a difference to us too. So I want you to hear that. I know it's easy to think we're kind of detached from that piece of it, and to some degree we are, but it makes, like you said, everything works together. So your successes are our successes as well. So I really appreciate that comment, and we're trying to, endless review cycles have got to stop. We're trying to get to yes on everything, but I would rather to get to no quickly than no in a very long period of time. So I definitely appreciate that. Any other building permit or anything?
Anything really?
Well, we're almost to the anything section,
Should
but
not be the opening.
let's stick with permitting
All right,
processes.
well, permitting is kind of a compliment. You're no worse than anybody else. But I've seen improvement over the last 4 or 5 years. And just my real constructive, I hope, is when we get to the finish line and we have plan approval, getting every department to sign off so it shows and you track it, and then getting to the dollar amount that's due. And then I've even had some issues. I had a check in my office for $400,000 that they wouldn't accept because they couldn't figure out how to divvy it up between the different fees. So I had to send it back and get like 4 different checks. And so if that's trying to get smoothed out, you'll be ahead of the other places.
We are certainly not going to change the city motto to that suggestion for sure, but I appreciate that. Sorry. Are the self-certification programs, just wondering if you'd had experience with self-certification programs either in other cities or would Commerce City benefit from self-certification programs?
I don't know. Like when you pay for special inspections, is that what you're talking about?
No.
No.
City Manager Rogers has experience with these.
Yeah, so in a former life, at a municipality that I worked at, we did self-certification, which shifted the initial approval of identifying compliance with building code practices to engineers and architects to submit, which helped to accelerate the issuance of a building permit. Once again, time, money, value. So we took that perspective on a very small subset of projects, allowing the private sector meeting certain criteria, certain programmatic responsibilities and delivering that to us and assuring that, yes, you have met. So it takes really that 10 days or that initial round of review from the city and puts the onus on the private developer in complying with it and doing a cursory review that then allows for us to accelerate and to jump into the next stage much quicker. Hence self-certification.
Like these I've seen them in building permits where a third-party consultant does a certification of a building. Anybody have experience with those around the room? Okay. All right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Any other comments on the permitting process before we move to anything at all? All right. Well, that's our third portion is kind of any concerns that you have that we have not talked about so far. Yes, please, Mr. Carlson.
This is not a concern with Commerce City, but just a concern about real estate development in the metro area in general. Right now, we're facing personally several 106 lawsuit challenges on zoning issues. There's one in Jefferson County where we had a use by right administrative site plan approval that's been held up in various stages of 106 appeals for almost 5 years. And what was interesting is that in our initial assessment, we determined that it wasn't subject to 106 because it was an administrative approval, and 106 is allocated to quasi-judicial only. Under Jefferson County Code, any decision rendered by the planning department administratively is subject to the Board of Appeals, Board of Adjustment. And the Board of Adjustment, by definition in Jefferson County, is a quasi-judicial entity. So the very motivated neighborhood groups have found in Jefferson County a way to say every single administrative action, a grading permit, a site plan, a TI permit, a fence permit, anything that is an administrative approval will be challenged to the Board of Adjustment. And then they have an attorney that's doing pro bono work for them that just files a 106 and off to court it goes. And it goes into the black hole of the district court, never to emerge for months or years. And then once it does emerge, then the same attorney writes an appeal to the appellate court, and it goes off again for another period of years. What we're working with Jefferson County on in the code amendment, which if you're doing a code amendment here, you might at least analyze that, is closing the back door for administrative approvals to be opened up through the Board of Adjustment and then be rendered quasi-judicial. And because it's a small group, and this is in Jefferson County, it's a very small group of very passionate anti-growth neighbors that as a matter of policy fight every single project. And they have over 10 projects right now held up in Board of Adjustment appeals with the district court. And so it's just, I don't know what the exact solution is, but I don't think it's a problem locally here yet. But once that Pandora's box gets opened, it's really brutal.
Any other comments or concerns? Mr. Rothstone, sorry.
This isn't a concern. It's really more a point of support. Keeping Commerce City competitive with other municipalities. You guys right now currently have two options for performance bonds. You can do a traditional performance bond or a letter of credit. There are other municipalities that are moving to a letter of credit, and because we're a residential developer, we have a lot of money that's going up out front, and a lot of times those costs can be, upwards of 8 to 10 times more. I'm sure you guys are all aware of it, but I just want to repeat that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Frank?
One of the things we'd like to have a discussion about is the Metro District Model Service Plan. So a couple of years ago, the city passed a new model service plan, which I think is great, because Metro districts have kind of become, a four-letter word in many respects, but they are necessary in order to, finance public infrastructure. And so I think there's just a few minor things that in the model service plan that if we could adjust would make projects a lot more financeable. And I can go into detail on those later, but I mean, really all we're asking is to kind of bond under the same circumstances that the city does. So like, the city has many bonds outstanding, and they have, sub bonds and even junior sub bonds, which are no longer allowed. And also like things like Gallagherization, which is really just an adjustment to the mill levy. And people think, an adjustment to the mill levy is an increase in taxes, and that's not the reality. Is if a mill levy gets adjusted up, it's because the assessed value got adjusted down. And so if your property tax bill for the Metro District specifically, let's use round numbers, was $5,000 the year before at 60 mills, and then it was Gallagherized up to 62, the portion that you pay to the Metro District is still, just 5,000. It doesn't actually go up. And, city bonds also allow for Gallagherization. So there's just a couple of minor things that we'd like to, talk about. And I know this doesn't impact a lot of people in this room because most projects already have their Metro Districts, but there are a handful out there that, still need Metro Districts.
Yeah, thanks for that. Any other?
Mike? Just one quick comment. HB has heard from a few different builders just about the use or pushback from the city on the use of right-of-way and marketing signage in and around builders' communities. And so I don't know if there's other builders here tonight that'd like to elaborate more on some of the challenges that they've experienced, but I know we've had some issues in other communities or cities as well that we've had to work on this. Might be something that we could, talk about more at one of our next JTF meetings. But just want to get that on the record as well. We try and figure out a better and maybe a fairer process, because I know some builders are allowed to use them, but then others aren't, is kind of what we're hearing. So.
Thanks, Mr. Cohen.
Good evening, Cheddar Latcham, Shea Homes. We're not currently a builder in the city of Commerce City, so I was reticent to make too many comments, but here really to support my builder friends around the room. But I would just say this is great. Appreciate you doing this and gathering here and allowing us to have this sort of dialogue. And it's super helpful because I've been very concerned about the PUDs that we have in some of our ground. So we were the master builder of Reunion originally before we sold it to Oakwood. And we've got agreements that, that have been in place for 25 years, and very concerned that we were going to lose some of those things and then have uncertainty around our zoning, which really makes it difficult for us to know what that ground is worth and then how to sell it if we don't have our zoning perfected. So we've been unnerved by that, and just to hear the commentary tonight that we can have the conversation around that and preserve some of those things and it's encouraging. I feel like kind of a breath of fresh air. The other thing I would just say is it is just a super competitive environment around the entire metro area. And so the idea of time to market is extremely important. And then just the perception of being open for business and a desire to want to have us here is helpful to builders that we're trying to sell lots to. I mean, we're in a position now where we would joint venture with some of the folks in this room on opportunities. We'd put finished lots under builders in the right circumstance. We have a fair bit of commercial ground that we have for sale. We've been trying to market. It's just, every municipality is competing for jobs and retail and services. And we got to just have our best foot forward across the metro area, because it's just really difficult to get deals to the finish line. And retailers and employers they're stuck in the mud right now just because of the sort of geopolitical landscape and the lack of job growth and uncertainty around that. But I just think it's this sort of comment time and sort of rebuilding of trust is very important and really good to see. So I just would like to say thanks for doing this.
Glad you're here tonight, and hope you'll develop in Commerce City again. Any other concerns?
You said we could talk about anything, right? Anything. My only thing is, I guess my challenge would be, I guess, for those that are actually here to build out, right, is really look at, I mean, pocket parks would be awesome to have, right? I mean, obviously for the residential that you guys plan on building out, places where there is walkability, places where there's lighting. Lighting has been a huge problem in certain areas. I think about, if there's a trail system that connects to existing trails, or potentially even bike paths that would be available in some of these areas. I would love to see more of that. Even with, I mean, we have a lot of people who drive electric vehicles, maybe allowing that output to be in the garage. Not saying you have to put it in, but I'm just saying just something of that effect. I mean, it'd be awesome to see. And don't put trees that are going to be like 20 feet tall in the what do you call that? Between the sidewalk and the tree lawn. Yes, because those end up affecting a lot more problems in the future, especially with our sidewalks and all that. Those are things I think about, but obviously for me in the next 2 years, whoever can build up a vertical infrastructure for retail, so I could build up my Korean restaurant, that'd be amazing in the city. That's all. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I just want to just say thank you all for joining tonight. I think the conversation tonight, as we've regained trust and have this consistent dialogue and assume positive intentions, I would be remiss not to ask the big question. As policymakers, as you are in different cities, counties, and states, as we think about Commerce City, I'd love to get your feedback on what are we not thinking about? As I listen to this conversation around, the impact fees, we're on track there. The Project Light Speed, we're on track there. The open dialogue about the PUDs and changes, I think we're on track there. And then some of the ordinances and things that we changed to reduce costs. But just from your either the headwinds that we're facing, I think, with construction, but what should we be thinking about? As a council, we see our city as a regional player, right? This is a small town, but a big city, right? And we want to continue to be and grow and have connectivity. But I'd love to get your advice on comments around, from the big picture, what should we be thinking about to create a city for the future, create a city for now? But what are you seeing in other cities that we're not thinking about yet?
I'll take a stab at this, and my friends can tell me to shut up. I would say, I know that there's this tension, and rightfully so, on jobs versus residential housing units. And that if the residential outweighs that commercial growth, the city has a financial problem. And I think we understand that as a development community together. However, if the retailers we're talking to feel like Commerce City is anti-residential, it creates a real problem because they don't feel like that they can grow their business. If they feel like there is a real headwind there, they're counting that rooftop growth with us. So if there's, and again, I recognize that there has to be that balance, and you don't want more rooftops without that commercial opportunity. But if we're saying we really don't want any more rooftops, the retailers are not coming because they can't survive on the existing rooftops that are here. So if they can't grow that business, they're not coming. And so there is, and I will just say, there is that view in the marketplace from a number of retailers that Commerce City is anti-residential growth. Thank you.
And I can speak to that because I'm on the front lines of the retail conversation. I think it is one of the bigger challenges for Commerce City is it's generally a low density city. There's not a lot of high density products, so it's mostly single family. And we're also faced with Colorado's general deceleration of growth. We are not growing, and it's a problem for everybody in this room. So I think it's important where cities can to try to incentivize construction of new homes, of all densities, to be honest with you. But Commerce City, especially because of the arsenal and the airport, it's and all the water along the Platte River is very chopped up in terms of the residential. It's sparse, and they've got all these constraints that are taking density out of the trade area, which makes it honestly a really hard place to underwrite a new deal when people look at their sales forecasts. So I think I know it's self-serving to a lot of the builders in the room, but from a retail guy standpoint, the more you can encourage housing and more density of housing, the better off, because you need bodies to run cash registers, to drive sales, to get retailers interested. And it's one of our bigger challenges is trying to get those numbers to square up for these retailers as they're touring, because you'll go to other suburbs and they don't have the arsenal and the airport and the lakes and everything, chopping everything up and making, it's a lot easier to model their sales in other cities.
Other comments?
I will say that what council and staff has done over the last year has proven to developers and builders that you guys want to be partners again. We had a round table around this time last year, and I think there was a lot of people from the building and developing world that came into it pessimistic. And the fact that the city repealed fire sprinkler code, and the fact that you are looking at a substantial decrease to impact fees, tells this room that you guys are serious about rekindling this relationship and supporting growth in rooftops. So continue to do what you're doing and make strides that you have over the last year. And I think it'll make a difference over time.
Thank you. Any other thoughts?
And just to echo that, I think, like you mentioned, over the past year, city has really signaled to the community that, they want to be partners and help. And so just want to thank, council and staff for that personally, because it feels, a lot different than it did, just a couple of years ago. And, I think that's a really good thing.
Thank you.
Say anything, right? No.
Don't censor yourself.
Some of you know me, I don't, but from a retail standpoint, and a year ago, I think I brought up the same point, and we've kind of been talking about it. I'm in one niche, convenience stores with gas sales, but just like every other retail, we have our criterion to evaluate whether or not it's right for us. Growth is one of those things that we look at, just like demographics, traffic, all that good stuff. And I know all the other retailers do as well. Now, on a different side of that, I'm a resident and I troll all the Facebook pages. I read everything. I read the comments just to kind of get a gauge on everything. And there's a real kind of polarity in Commerce City among the residents from what I see. There's definitely a sentiment of, I describe it this way to others that I run into. It's like the people that moved here don't want anyone else to move here because they enjoy it. And my family's enjoyed it too. But I really think rooftop density needs to keep going. And there have been a few projects that I've watched from the sidelines that probably should have been approved. And I'm not playing to the residential developers, but you have to have that density to attract people. As for lighting, I got to go back to that. Code dictates what our lighting is on retail. We would like to light it up like the moon, but somewhere in between would be great. I have to fight with my engineering team because they're like, we can't go that low. I'm like, yes, you can. It'll be okay. I have to hold their hand and baby them through it. Definitely want to echo that this is a totally different city than when I first brought the first two projects here back in 2019. So thank you for all your progress. On a different note, or on the same note, but a different point, we're kind of viewed as an obnoxious use, it seems like. And with the new legislative rezoning, I think our opportunities are diminished, which is okay. That's your guys's, it's our city. But from a retail sales tax generation, employment, asset to the community as far as the last minute grocery store, we're needed. Another of your points about EV chargers, if you guys want EV chargers, put them in code, we'll put them in. This isn't being televised, right? Because if my corporate folks see that, they'll have a cow. But we will. We're here to give what the community wants or needs as we've identified it. We'll continue to do so, but definitely things have changed and they continue to change. The fees, I hope that is rolled back because that was a major hurdle for entry into the market. I'm fortunate we have a very successful company. We could afford it. A lot of other businesses cannot. The retail development fees and permit fees are exorbitant. It's okay. We're going to open the stores and we're proud to be here, but I'm glad you guys are doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Russ Watterson. I'm a developer. I've been developing in this area since 1977. And, I was trying to figure out what we could do to elevate how people feel about Commerce City. And I was raised in a town just like old Commerce City. How do you change how people view it? And so that's why about 27 years ago, we decided to give the city 110 acres to do the golf course. And it took another 90 acres from the adjoining property owner to get what we have now as a nice golf course. And, you know, that did elevate the way Commerce City was viewed in the Denver area. And people loved to come out and play on that golf course. And so as we move forward, as we're trying to get done what we've been talking about tonight, and the city council has been doing a great job making things happen, in my opinion, we need to tell the community what's happening here, that we are open for business. And I had a broker come, he connected with 36 different companies, and he got a positive out of about 4. Now, that doesn't have to be that way. Once we get really rolling, rooftops, you're exactly right. That's the bottom line. It's time to start letting that be known. Now, and we still own properties along 120th Avenue and otherwhere in the city. And 120th Avenue and Chambers Road is where we as a company have been trying to give away an acre. And we've been working on it for the last 4 years, and a bunch of people know about that. We've been trying to give this away for a great restaurant. Still hasn't happened. We've worked for months with 4 different companies. I think it out. Sean Ford can tell you about a bunch of that. Finally, now since I have been here developing, 120th Avenue has been a cow pasture road, and that's what I've called it. And finally now it's being widened. We're going to have a lot more people that are interested in coming to Commerce City because now we can make more houses come, more rooftops. And the transportation is going to be better. They're going to build a big old overpass over 120th, right on Highway 85. That's going to make it even more heavy. So advertise. That's what we need. Let's let the community know what is going on here. And then finally, after I've been developing here, like I said, since 1977, maybe finally, I can finally sell this property and move on because I'm 82 years old. It's time for maybe me to settle down. And that's what I want to do because I have 17 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren, and I'd like to see a lot more of them. So advertise. Let's know the area know. Let's let them know what we're doing here in Commerce City and make them look at it for the city that it is. It's a great place to live. And I'm still, anyway.
Can I make a quick comment to that? Just so you know, so everyone knows, we, as a council, we passed a resolution, I think it was in December or January. It was a resolution reaffirming Commerce City's commitment to economic growth and business partnership. So we can send it out we have Michael and the team send it out, the resolution, so this is something we made a vote and a commitment to doing that. So I hope that you can continue to share that. And in this resolution, it kind of details all the work that we've been attempting to do. So if we can help be partners and kind of share that to the folks you're working with, ultimately, as we think about our residents want retail. We want walkability. We want opportunities for gathering spaces for our families. And so we can't do that without the partnership. So I want to highlight that resolution. It is a commitment that we're committed to having this partnership, but I need your help and we need your help spreading that word so that we are moving forward in the right direction.
Just one final thought on the commercial versus residential thing. And I know we've kind of talked about that a lot. And, previously there had been, some pushback that, there was enough residents. I think we're finally, all coming around to the understanding that, that there really needs to be more residential in order to incentivize the commercial and retail to come. But there's also this huge misconception out there that developers would prefer to do residential, and that's where we make the most money. And nothing could be further from the truth. On a residential piece of ground versus a commercial piece of ground, you get about 4 to 5 times more per square foot on a commercial deal than you do a residential deal. In addition to that, most of us are within PUDs and have metro districts, and those metro districts, if you have commercial property that's, assessed at a 27% rate versus a 6% rate, you can build, approximately 4 times as much infrastructure with that commercial. So I don't want it to be misunderstood that we don't want commercial or that we're, trying to only do residential. Nothing could be further from the truth. We want commercial just as badly as, the city does for a lot of reasons. 1, we make more money. 2, the district, can fund more infrastructure. 3, we get to give the residents, what they want. 4, we get to give city council and city staff what they want. So, we are trying hard to bring the commercial here, and we appreciate kind of the steps that the city is taking because I think it will help incentivize, more rooftops, which will then bring the commercial.
A quick plug, council has adopted the housing needs assessment last year and is working on the housing action plan this year. So we'll invite your participation in that effort as well. It's an exciting effort, I think, to really identify, we've identified needs for housing, but the housing action plan will steer us forward on housing policies and ways to incentivize the growth we want to see. So just wanted to put in a quick plug for that. Councilmember Kim?
So to your point, trolling all the different Facebook pages and all, I'll tell you, and I'll be very frank, no pun intended, that, I was definitely anti-development because I did feel like we did have enough rooftops in the city. I felt like we had all of that. And it's like, why do we keep having more? Why do we keep getting more? Why don't we get enough more commercial, or at least to try to advertise for more commercial? Going to ICSC last year, International Council for Shopping Centers, talking to those folks, hearing it directly from those folks that are in that commercial business, saying it to the same other people in other municipalities with regards to, you don't have enough yield to traffic count. You don't have enough rooftops. Hell, I even sent Daniel Frank like over 300 or 100 different contacts to reach out to, who in turn, he would forward it to me and tell me, no, because you don't have enough rooftops. Your traffic count sucks. It's not there. So obviously for me, my mindset has shifted, not shifted to say that, yep, I'm pro-development, nor am I, pro-residential, whatever the case is. It's more so just trying to find that balance. Really is what it comes down to. And of course, talking to people like Russ, talking to people like Cheddar, Daniel, and others as well, it helps me become a little bit more educated and more engaged also. So any chance I get, I try my best to let residents know that. I do understand that, a lot of residents who are more specifically within a certain metro district that are paying 98 mills, and they feel like they're definitely getting, it's pretty high, right? Tell you my house is within that metro district. I pay about $5,000 alone just on top of that. But on top of that, you've got other taxing authorities. So I'm paying about 10 grand a year just in my property taxes alone. And I'm not saying, and I don't believe this, I don't think every metro district out there is you guys are there, it's there to go in and basically screw over a lot of the residents altogether, right? There are some that are bad actors, unfortunately. There are some that are great altogether, but I think I see it as, as something that you guys, that this is needed. We, unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but we do need a little bit more residential in order to bring in that commercial, to incentivize that commercial, say, hey, you know what? I think they have the right amount of people right amount of rooftops that are out there. And the other thing I think about is being a good neighbor. We always talk about being a good neighbor, right? I would ask that, as far as part of being that good neighbor, especially for you guys, for you all, is thinking about potential nonprofits that are here in Commerce City. You willing to donate it, with a few bucks here and there to them to help them out? I mean, that'd be awesome if you guys would be willing to do that. Obviously, it'd be great. Others will see it as whitewashing because they see it with other companies or whatever. But honestly, it's like, all right, we're all trying to cohabitate together, trying to live in the city together, trying to be good partners all together and collaborate well with each other. We're not always going to get what we want. You guys aren't always going to get what you want. But if we could find that middle ground at the end of the day, I'm happy.
Michael.
Yes, Councilman Dukes.
Just to kind of switch gears, I know we've been talking about the Northern Range, but I'm also curious about infill and conversations around how can we approach infill in different parts of our city, whether it's Bell Creek or Derby or Adams Heights. Is there any conversations happening out there that we should know about infill property for commercial or even middle housing?
Could be a separate discussion among a different group. Yes, Mr. Ross.
I'll throw in just a little bit here. I think the challenge that we're seeing as it relates to townhomes specifically is really just the insurance requirements. And so that has been one of the biggest issues for us to move forward with townhomes. And we do not see a lot of interest from builders across the market. So I wish that those could be something that could change, that first-time home buyer, but that's kind of where it stands right now.
And Jim's phone is dinging at me, so that means we're near the wrap-up time, but and want to respect all your time, obviously. Were there any other concerns that were not voiced? And obviously, if you would like to email me or Heather, we will include those in the notes, but I'll kind of give sort of a last chance, then we'll do a recap. And then always the last word goes to the mayor pro tem. So, any other concerns from the group? Yes.
Sorry, I've been quiet all night. Tri Point Homes is a builder here. We don't own any lots outside of the developed lots we bought from Oakwood Homes, and we're not entitling anything, and we're not developing anything right now. So I didn't have a ton of comments on any of that, but I did want to say thank you to all the council members and staff for everything. As Mark said, we all came to this meeting last year and we left hopeful. And I think, at least I feel probably maybe leaving a little bit excited tonight on some of the changes that are being talked about. So to go from hopeful to excited, I think is a great step. I will add that in preparation for tonight, I talked to our sales marketing team and to our construction team and just went by and said, hey, I don't have any comments. Do any of you have any comments? Anything I can any grievances I can air? And I wanted to say, they all said no. The things are going great. The sales marketing team, we did have a problem with signage. I think the signage code got ironed out. There were a few wrinkles in it, and I think some of that got ironed out. My marketing person said he's still got a few things, but the staff has been working with them and things are going great. And our construction person said he's been having a great time. So I just wanted to throw that in there along the lines of what can we do? As Daniel said, we want commercial too, right? What makes Commerce City a great place to live makes it attractive for our buyers. So we want that as well because we want to bring we want buyers to come here. If it's attractive for the people who live here, it's attractive for the people who are aspiring to live here too. So this whole idea of everybody literally coming to the table tonight and talking it and partnering on this, I think is a really great step forward. And I wanted to say thank you. So.
Thank you.
I'd like to just echo those comments as well. Everything that Dan just said, we really appreciate the opportunity, really appreciate all the members of city council coming out, taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us and the staff as well. Couldn't thank you more. It's the second time, so, hopefully we can make this an annual thing, and, maybe every spring we can get to do this again. We saw, to Mark's and Dan's point, we saw a lot of positive outcomes last year, and I think we will again this year. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say one other thing. I love Commerce City. I do. I come every Wednesday right next door to Rotary Club of Commerce City. I don't live in Commerce City, but I love Commerce City. My wife and I spent 9,000 hours working without compensation for our church. And our primary responsibility was to help the youth of Commerce City. And this was and it was an assignment that I had from my church, and it was supposed to be 3 years. And it ended up being 4.5, 20 hours a week for each of us. And my wife loves Commerce City too. That's all.
Yeah, great sentiment. Thank you. With that, let's turn it over to Heather Vidlock. She'll give a quick summary, but we'll have much more detailed notes that are coming out to you. And then I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem.
So thank you everyone for being here this evening. We truly appreciate your candid feedback. We're taking that all to heart. And again, I'm Heather Vidlock. I'm the Deputy Director of Community Development. And what I've taken away in terms of summary for this evening, with regard to our first topic, the fees, we definitely heard that you'd like us to continue to reduce fees wherever possible. And you definitely want us to proceed with reducing the roadway impact fees later this summer. You also want us to take a look at the right-of-way permit fees, especially as it pertains to repairs in an active development. And so those were the main takeaways with regard to fees. With regard to process, we definitely heard tonight that speed and time to market are so critical for the development community, and that you're looking for predictability in the process. You're looking for reliability in your zoning and your PUD over time. You'd like to have all the comments at the very early stages, whether that's the pre-app or the first review, and you'd like us to complete those reviews in 3 reviews. And you're committed to work with your consulting teams so that we can hit that 3 review timeframe. In terms of the light speed review, there was a lot of positive feedback about that. And that includes the completeness checks that include fire and South Adams County Water and Sewer. The meeting after the first review comments. And the comment was really making a personal touch and building those relationships between the staff and the development community, which I think is really possible with those meetings that we can have after first review. You'd like us to explore efficiencies in reviews and completeness checks, potentially incorporating AI. And you'd like us to continue to look at updates to the 2025 Land Development Code so that we can continue to refine that and make it a truly forward-looking zoning code so that we can get through our process as quickly as possible. With regard to the last topic, where we kind of threw it out there and asked you to speak about anything else. We definitely honed in on the concept of the community making strides forward in the dialogue and feedback between the development community and the council, feedback to the residents in terms of how do we grow our community. We heard comments on what a competitive environment the Denver Metro is and how difficult development can be. And so that's another reason why you need partners on the city side to be able to compete and bring development to this community. We definitely heard lots of feedback about bringing more rooftops to grow the commercial and trying to get that sentiment out into the community. We heard about bringing more density in terms of the residential development and trying to hit some of those benchmarks in terms of how do we get our rooftops, our traffic counts up to where the national retailers are paying attention to Commerce City. In terms of just some other miscellaneous topics that I have notes on, the marketing signage and the right-of-way, the appeal process, performance bonds, and the Metro District Model Service Plan.
Great summary, Heather. Thank you. And with that, I will say thank you. I appreciate moderating this event. Council's done an amazing job sort of bringing us together, and I really appreciate that. And I will turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem for any final comments.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. This has been really very interesting. I'll go back to something that Mike said earlier, since he lives in the area and follows social media. Yes, we are a pretty polarized community. So even though you're hearing a lot of great news, there is also going to be folks who are concerned about traffic congestion. They'll be worried about whether fees get lowered in such a way that it actually is a cost that they must then absorb. Whether roads are completed, et cetera, high cost of metro districts that are impacting whether retail even comes in because they have to pay the same amount, although we rectified that with the metro district rules that we put into place. I can't tell you how much it means to me to know Mr. Watterson, who has done incredible development in Commerce City. You have done a wonderful job. You have been extremely generous. Without you, there would be no Buffalo Run Golf Course. Without you, there would be no Stampede Park. I'm sure I'm not covering everything, but it is really significant what you have done in Commerce City, and you have quite a legacy at the age of 82, sir. So you're very much appreciated. Thank you too to Shea Homes, who built a beautiful community that began the expansion of the North. That was really, really important to do. And I think that quality residential and quality commercial is something that everyone is eager to see as well. And thank you to Mr. Campbell, who has committed over 20 years to Commerce City. So we appreciate all of you who are new to this area as well, or relatively new. And thank you all for coming this evening. I'm going to just close it here, and then we'll come back and do the balance of our meeting, because you don't need to sit here and listen to our council reports. But thank you so very much. And please reach out to any of us at any time. I'm more than happy to meet with anyone. And I've met with many of you. I know many of you already, but please, anytime, look forward to speaking with you. Thank you. And we all feel that way, I'm sure. Thanks again.
Microphone's not working? That should be. Is it on? No. Okay. Give me 1 second.
It's the only way it'll be picked up on on YouTube or
Check.
channel.
It's on.
Okay, we are resuming. And we're moving now to reports. We start with City Manager Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Want to just be able to share a couple of things. One, we put it out there about project or Phase B for the 88th Avenue widening. For that, we're targeting construction early 2027. That phase will begin east of the segment that's currently being reconstructed, and that will reconstruct the bridge over the O'Brien Canal, widen 88th Avenue, and rebuild the intersection of Rosemary. So very excited about that. This Friday, we will be holding a groundbreaking for the clubhouse expansion to begin demolition work. That has been a long time coming for that project. And then in PD, we had Saturday was our Cops for Inclusion event for individuals with autism or within the autism spectrum. It was relatively cold, but we still had 35 families participate. And then we had our drug take back day at King Soopers. And around 1 p.m., we had around 100 pounds of various substances that were turned in for destruction. So all in all, positive events all the way around and those forthcoming. And that ends my report out.
Thank you. City Attorney Zarzaki.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I will be very quick. Wanted to let you all know I anticipate that you have not had a chance to read my email. I sent it around 5 o'clock this evening to be responsive of the motion that council made last Monday with regards to conducting legal research associated with the Advance Mobile Home Park. In a nutshell, yes, it likely is a public purpose, and I think the city could finance some iteration of advancing the needs of the community. In my email, you will see my recommendation, which is to comply with city council policy, which requires the full council to deliberate first and to provide formal direction to the city manager. I would recommend that you bring this conversation to a regular meeting. If you are interested in having the city manager and staff look into what potential options we have in financing the loan request for the Advanced Mobile Home Park purchase. So please certainly read the email. If you have any questions, reach out. But I would say the next step, if council's interested in moving this forward, is to have a conversation amongst yourselves in a council meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Should someone put in a notice council business, or do we do it randomly during administrative council
I would
business?
certainly suggest notice council business. Absolutely. Good question.
All right. Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions for either the city attorney or the city manager? All right. Council reports. Councilmember Hardiel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple things. Tuesday, went to the Cultural Council, had a really good meeting about how they're going to be transitioning into a commission under the city. We also had a very brief discussion about DEI and the Historic Society coming under the umbrella of the Cultural Council. So they're still working with staff. Thursday, we went to the Adams 14 Gala Foundation. Amazing job. Councilwoman Lori Young and her staff. It was dope to see the kids and how much money they raised to go to college. The other big piece that I think for myself is seeing former students that I had when I was at Adams City High School. 2 of them presented scholarships and just seeing what they're doing, right? And you know, how much the foundation has helped them and them coming back. So again, I think that event is awesome, and she could probably speak to it of how much total they raised. But it was a great event, and I hope we could partner more, because when we partner with organizations like the foundation and other nonprofits, it goes to our citizens and our kids, right? And knowing, you know, one of the highlights, there's all highlights, but Maria Castaneda, who was the keynote I had as a student at Adams City High School, right? Went and got her degree at CSU and now is in public policy, getting her master's, right? And she wants to be in what we do, right? It's her network. And then the gentleman who went to school of mines on a full ride and now is an engineer at Suncor because he wanted to come back and live in his city, right? Those are huge highlights. And so kudos to Lori and all the sponsors because giving back, that's what partnership is. And then Saturday, myself, Councilman Kim and Dukes, we interviewed 30-some applicants for our boards and commissions. Shout out to the staff who stood with us and did all the paperwork. It was a busy day, but again, it shows the hidden gems we have in our community, right? The amazing people we have in our community that want to get involved and outside of our community, right? For the Workforce Task Force, we have some great people coming along. So it was a really good day. And just again, I just sent it out today and I know people are application. We are still looking for 2 nonprofits, 1 higher education, 1 national business, 2 government, and 1 trades folk to sit on the workforce so it could be complete. And I know staff's working on the folks that are applying, but if you have folks in those areas, please ask them to apply. Thank you.
Hands, who's next? All right, Councilmember Young.
I want to thank Councilmember Dukes, Councilmember Guardiola, and Councilmember Teeter for coming to the event. We raised $91,000 net. So I am, thank you. That says a lot about our community and our community partners. Community College of Aurora actually 10x'd their sponsorship to us because of their partnership with the city. And so I just thank you for your innovation in that area. We really have a community that cares about our next generation coming up and that generation coming back home and developing our workforce, but also because they want to raise their families here too. So it really kind of gives me like a whole new meaning to quality community for a lifetime because it demonstrates how these kids really want to carry on that lifetime. For the workforce development, I did approach Community Uplift Partnership and sent them the link to be on that. So that's all that I have in my report.
Thank you. Councilor Kim.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So on earlier this week, attended the 2026 Business Appreciation Award breakfast. Huge shout out to the award winners, La Casa del Rey, GFW Corp, and UE Compression, Commerce City Dentist, American Canine Academy, Kids Health First, and Commerce City Promise, Community College of Aurora, and Rocky Mountain Partnership, Cradle to Career, and Stadium Auto Parts for your guys' award. It was a great event overall. Great job to staff as far as setting all that up. Then also attended the boards and commission to Councilmember Guardiola's point. We had 32 applicants for various boards and commissions. Huge shout out to Kim Adami, Stephen Ruger, Kim more so much than Stephen, but hey, who's there to say anything? Anyways, so great job there. And of course, on Sunday I had my meetup event where there's a few topics that we did discuss. Obviously, we talked about Bison Grill, with the groundbreaking. I believe it's going to come up next Friday, and looking at about potentially 10 to 12 months at most as far as for that renovation to be fully complete. We also talked about NETC, talked about Colorado Boulevard, obviously the ATV, OHV issues, CCPD, potential healthcare in our city, long-term healthcare, and a few other things as well. So I want to say thank you for everyone who did show up. I'll be having my next meetup here in May 23rd. will have flock safety there. They have confirmed with me that they'll be at my next meetup at Las Dos Americas in Commerce City on May 23rd. That is all.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. Just want to circle back. I was able to attend the Adams 14 or the gala, and $91,000 for students and for youth in our community is truly amazing. So Councilmember Young, thank you for your service. And it is amazing to see when a community comes together, the focus on youth, what the possibilities are. And I think 91,000 is probably the watermark now. It's only going to keep getting better. So thank you. And I thank you for the opportunity for me to take a picture with a couple of the folks that are going to go to Mesa, and one has graduated from Colorado Mesa. As you know, I'm a graduate there, and I thought that was a great opportunity for us to see how, from this community going over the mountains to Colorado Mesa and Grand Junction, but ultimately it's a great school, and it was a great moment that I was able to share with them. As far as I was able to go to the Rotary and give an update on Rotary, I stopped by and talked to them on that day. And then I also was able to go to Small Business Awards, and congratulations to the staff, and just an amazing event with the Small Business Awards and so many great opportunities there. Boards and Commission, as echo, I can't express how thankful I was to be part of that process. 32 applicants that are just excited to serve our city says a lot for where we're going and what our residents can do for us. A couple updates, just a precursor. I'm working with Councilmember Trujillo about thinking through how do we create a motion to help continue momentum for Derby and think about options to sustain the momentum that's taken place, knowing that we had some transition and making sure that we are having a URA and everything is going. So we're going to work with Councilmember Trujillo to work with City Manager about a potential motion that can keep that momentum going. The other potential motion I want to share with the council is the idea of neighborhood improvement grants. This is something that I've been hearing during my meetups and during communities and talking through what does that look like in terms of us potentially having conversations for the 2028 budget about small grants, high visibility, and community impact opportunities. And so that's something that I'll be bringing forward as well. So that's my report.
Okay, then I will go. I attended the Senior Commission's Lunch and Learn. The topic was fraud, and ARP was the presenter. We had a full house at Bison Ridge. Also attended the ADCOG dinner, Adams County Council of Governments, along with Councilmember Teeter and Councilmember Dukes. I always love going to that. I like seeing my colleagues, especially people I was elected with 6 or 7 years ago. And it's always great to see them because we're all nearing the end of our services in this particular role. And I also attended the Environmental Policy and Innovation Commission meeting along with Mayor Douglas. A lot is happening with that group. They appreciated the input from the City Council about wanting to make certain that when they provide us with information that it's tied directly back to impacts on Commerce City. So they will be moving forward on that. Next month, the guest speaker is Sandra Jaquith, and she is the chair of the Site-Specific Advisory Board for Rocky Mountain Arsenal. She's been in that role for about 30 years, actually. So it will be kind of a historical trip through all of the transformations at the Arsenal. And the best part of my week was that I got to give another $250,000 to some school because that's my role as the treasurer for 27J's Foundation. And that moves developer funds into the schools, into the construction of the schools. I think, and what's really interesting in attending this one is that 27J keeps track of rooftops and rooftops in progress. So they show very high numbers for this area in terms of what's in progress. And I can give you that information the next time we have a housing conversation. But for South Lawn alone, they call it the South Lawn region, but it is for South Lawn Elementary. They do it by school. It was a little over 7,000. So that's what they're pulling in their demographics. It matters because that's how they do schools. That's how they determine where schools are going in. And that's how they determine what they're going to have coming in from the state. And I invited the planner for the schools this evening. So Greg Thompson was here tonight as well. So anyway, that's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Nope. All righty, everybody. Have a great night.